This NHL season has certainly been wild and crazy, and that just continued last week as we've seen young stars continue to dominate, and teams that most of us thought were not going to be good continue to win. But let's look beyond the standings to see if this success is sustainable in today's tier list. Let's go right at the bottom to start with two teams who are about ready to sell. That's right, the two worst teams in my opinion, the Nashville Predators and Calgary Flames. These teams are just absolutely at the bottom of the barrel. Both are outwardly contemplating selling off key parts. Guys like Ryan O'Reilly and Steven Stamkos from the Predators, Rasmus Andersson and Nazem Kadri from the Flames. No one really had high expectations for either of these teams, except for me, who stupidly thought that the Flames could be feisty. And now it's time for them to accept that their fate is basically praying that they win the McKenna lottery and sell off whatever meager assets they still have in order to recoup some value for their rebuilds. The next tier above them is just two teams who I think are regular trash, those being the Blues and the Canucks. These teams are just bad. They're not exceptionally terrible like the Flames and the Predators, but they're both at the bottom of the standings and neither one has shown much of a pulse. Neither of them are outwardly tanking yet, but I could see a situation in the future where if they continue to slip down in the standings, they will be in that sellers tier. Then the next tier above them is a big one. It's the shiny trash. These are teams that are not good, but I think that there's still some redeeming qualities. You have here the Sabres, Maple Leafs, Capitals, Sharks, Wild, and Blue Jackets. Some of these teams are actually kind of feisty. Like the Caps analytically are one of the best teams at 5-on-5. They just have no power play. The Sharks are a feisty team with their young talent. And the Buffalo Sabres are still perpetually miserable, but they have some good young players who are contributing. I don't think that any of these teams have just lost all hope and are out of it for the season, but they're on an uphill battle in my opinion. One tier up, we have the teams that I wonder when they're going to start winning. Those are the Oilers, Rangers, Lightning, Senators, Panthers, and Bruins. Now the Bruins are a little bit of a special case because they are winning, but they're not recording a lot of regulation wins, which is a little bit concerning. But for these other teams, man, I thought that these teams still had talent, even though I know the Rangers are coming off a down year and the Panthers are very injured. All of these teams I had high expectations for, none of them are performing very well. In fact, as it stands right now, the only teams of this group that are in a playoff position are Boston and the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are in the last wild card in the East. Now, moving up, we have three teams that are on fraud watch, and they're different teams than the past few weeks. We have the Flyers, Mammoth, and the Islanders. All of these teams are outperforming my expectations, except for the Mammoth, who I thought were going to be a playoff team and are just kind of a Jekyll and Hyde. But the Flyers and Islanders, they just keep winning. I don't know how. They shouldn't. They don't have that much talent, but they have some good coaching, and their rebuilds look they're going in a positive direction. So I gotta wonder when it's gonna stop, especially for the Islanders, who analytically at 5-on-5 are kind of just a disaster. But those three potential frauds are nothing compared to the three teams in the they can't keep getting away with this tier, those being the Penguins, Blackhawks, and Ducks. Not one of these teams is in the top 20 of expected goal differential at 5v5, and in fact the Blackhawks are second to last in the entire NHL. They keep winning. It just doesn't make any sense to me. The Penguins are power play merchants. The Blackhawks are getting incredible goaltending out of Spencer Knight, and the Ducks, I don't even know how to explain the Ducks. Then above them, three teams who I think are just good: the Kings, Montreal Canadiens, and Detroit Red Wings. And when I say good, I mean they've proven to be solid, but I don't really have a handle on how good they are. They're better than some of the teams below them who I don't believe in, but they're not as good as the elite and borderline elite teams. So I'm just kind of sticking them in one tier, but I really don't know how much I believe in the Kings, and I think the Detroit Red Wings, who are now leading the Atlantic, could actually be a threat. Then I got three teams above them who are borderline elite. They're not quite in that elite tier, but they're exceptionally good: the Vegas Golden Knights, Winnipeg Jets, and Seattle Kraken. And I know Seattle will be controversial considering they're clinging to that last wildcard spot in the West, but I will note that a lot of their losses have come on the road, and in particular that East Coast swing at the beginning of the year, and since then they have been on an absolute scorcher. But that leaves four teams who I believe are the cream of the crop, the elite teams. No surprise, the Dallas Stars, who I always believed in even when they struggled at the beginning, Carolina Hurricanes, New Jersey Devils, and Colorado Avalanche. But if you think that there's another team who deserves to be an elite, go ahead and drop that in the comments and let me know. I'll catch you all for the next week's tier list.